All right, we're back with another Miami Hurricanes post-game show brought to you by About the Fans. Got Petrie with me as always, and we got Mike with us as well this week. So, guys, thank you for joining us. It was a sloppy game. It was not our best showing, but to be able to end the game in victory formation and run out the clock and I guess that's a positive, right?
Would have been, should have, could have, would have.
Is that too soon? Dude, it's almost so shocking that like I'm not even feeling it. Like I'm not feeling like we just had a horrible loss. Because so here's the story of the game to me: is we overcome all this adversity, we make it hard for ourselves. We, Hurricanes teams of the past 2 decades would have rolled over multiple times in this game, given up. We fight through all that. TVD, 3 interceptions, has the bomb at the end of the game to kind of bring it back and ice the game for us. And then for it to end on like the worst coaching brain fart I've ever seen in my whole life. I like Mario. I think he's a good coach. But that was idiocy. For it to end over idiocy is pretty weird. What do you guys think?
I got a hot take real quick.
Let's hear it.
That's the worst loss as a Hurricanes fan I've ever witnessed.
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
And it used to be there's some rankings, if we're ranking our lifetime of watching games, say 25 years or so, I'll start off at 10 years old and then after, right? After 10, you start developing like those hardcore emotions where they last with you. But I'm thinking, the Ohio State game, I think we were ranked number 3 one time and Clemson cut our ass in the Orange Bowl. That was a bad loss. But that loss right there, man, was the trashiest way to lose, bro. As just I don't care if we were unranked and 0-4, I'd probably be saying the same shit.
I wonder if that is a little bit relative to expectation, because even when we were kind of struggling throughout that one, based on what you've seen so far this season, you still kind of had a little bit of a sentiment like, but they're going to pull it out though. Like they're going to make it in the end. And then to absolutely have a coaching blunder on something that's so basic that like children playing Madden know when to take a knee when you've got the game in the bag. To have such a blunder, not even just with that kind of a coaching decision, but then to also give up that late touchdown. They're throwing the ball. Why are we not rushing 3 and dropping 8? Let's just drop 8, keep literally everything in front of you. So 2 very, very bad coaching blunders on, sometimes people say some stuff, oh, wow, I saw this crazy thing. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. You might have an advanced level of knowledge of football that I haven't quite comprehended just yet. But that is some shit that children know how to handle on Madden.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a little bit spicy of a take, but just using some, deductive reasoning, whatever. I'm just thinking, like, why would he do that? And there's only one reason that makes sense to me. And I think they might have been trying to break off a long run right there. A 20-yard touchdown run, make the score look a little better after a really ugly game in front of all these recruits. I mean, why else? What, like you said, children know better. So why are we tempting fate there in that situation? What other reason could there have been to do that? It doesn't make sense unless they're hoping like maybe we can pad this score a little bit. 10-point win over Georgia Tech, not all that bad.
I don't think they thought about it. I think they just let it go. Oh, just run another play. I don't even think they thought about kneeling the ball, bro. The formation wasn't out there to kneel the ball.
Yeah. So
nobody was looking around going, yo, are we actually running a play?
Are we about to do this? We're not about to. That's where I say, like, there's stuff where children playing video games know this kind of stuff, very basic. And I know as a kid on the team, you probably don't want to be the one who's like, hey, coach, I'm smarter than you in this situation. But you got to think at least a couple of the kids in the huddle were thinking, why are we not fucking kneeling the ball right now?
Yeah. So if I may try to inject a little bit of optimism into the conversation.
Gonna need a little more than a little.
So obviously, crushing loss. Idiocy is the cause of the loss. There's no excuse, whatever. Here's the thing, though, is like none of us were expecting a playoff berth this year going into the game or coming into the season, right? I think after the first few weeks, we started to think about ACC championship berth. That's still alive. That's fine. Probably aren't going to be a playoff team this year. But if you really just chalk this game up to like, it was a bad one that we should have won, and then it got away from us. Like we can still be 9-3 and look at this year, with kind of an asterisk on this game and just be like, yeah, we were 9-3. We know in our heads that we should have been 10-2. And that's something to build on. I guess it just matters how we handle this loss is the point I'm trying to make. Is if we come out and we play against North Carolina the same way that we played against Texas A&M, like it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It's really not.
And also, I will say, I don't have any kind of proof of this, but I would be willing to bet that you too, Mike, I know you, Jordan, at a certain point when we might have been discussing the schedule, there were certain games that you kind of looked at and you were like, that one might be a little bit funny for us. And I will be willing to bet dollars to donuts that a lot of people looked at Georgia Tech a little bit funny before the season started. Right now, after the first several games, we're starting off very hot, and you're thinking, okay, hey, we're going to beat Georgia Tech. Okay, good. But if you would have asked a lot of people before the season, they might have looked at this Georgia Tech game a little bit funny.
Yeah, it's just hard to quantify. I don't want to seem overly optimistic, but like even as we were clocking the ball with run plays, not a knee, which is stupid. As we were clocking the ball, I was thinking to myself, like, this was a bad showing. But, like, I wasn't concerned about TBD. I wasn't concerned about the coaching. I wasn't concerned about the defense. To me, all game, we looked like a bigger, stronger, faster team that was completely disinterested in playing football today. And, Petrie, you brought up weather conditions, which I think are valid. Without trying to make them an excuse. I agree with you there. So it's so bizarre to have this game end in a loss when we did everything correct until we did everything correct to overcome the adversity that we created for ourselves until the last 20 seconds. It's just such a bizarre way for the game to end.
Yeah. And it's exactly the way Georgia Tech would like it to go. Whenever a team that is lesser than comes into your home building, they're going on the road. All they want to do is make it ugly. And all they want to do is keep it relatively close so that they're within striking distance and that they have something of a chance and a little bit of momentum when it gets to the middle-ish kind of late parts of the fourth quarter. And guess what happened? That's exactly what fucking happened. So. I mean, we smoked them in several of the major categories. We have 23 first downs to their 12. That's almost double. We had 447 offensive yards to their 250. That's almost double. And we crushed them in TOP as well, time of possession. We had a little bit over 35 minutes, whereas they had just over 24 minutes. So we got them on time of possession by almost 11 minutes of game time. We had them on TOP by a quarter of football.
Yep.
And lost that game.
Yeah, and
hey, but the last 25 seconds in there, bro.
Yeah.
We had more penalty yardage, but they had more penalties, which is, there was some bad calls out there for sure. But as usual, Kane's Twitter is claiming that the refs swung this, but there was more called penalties on Georgia Tech, and it's hard to use that as like a main factor. To me, the big number is 5 turnovers to 2 turnovers. TVD was reckless with the ball. I'm trying.
Reckless.
Yeah. All 3 of his interceptions were pretty horrible.
Could have had a 4th.
Yeah. And so he was reckless with the ball. Our play calling seemed very uncreative today. I know last time we were doing this show, Petrie, remember we were lauding Shannon Dawson's creativity and aggressiveness, and that I don't know, maybe he forgot it.
It was gone.
I really try. And this is where I said I struggle to reconcile this, where you kind of want to have a balance between like, hey, it was a rainy game, so I understand Dawson's not going to be out there, calling up 45, 55-yard passes, once or twice a drive. I get that because it was rainy out there, but at the same time, you are supposed to be talented enough to overcome that specific set of circumstances. And, for what it's worth, the other team is playing in those circumstances as well. Now, Georgia Tech would love to have it be an ugly game, but let's not act like just as they were trying to keep everything in front of them and keep us running the ball and throwing short yardage passes, we were doing the same thing to them, trying to have them run the ball and do little dink and dunk short yardage passes. And so what in the flying fucking hell happened on that last play of the game when the one play of the game that they're fucking throwing the ball. They're throwing that football.
It's bizarre, dude. I don't have any other words. I know I keep saying bizarre, but like I didn't even have emotions watching it. I
saw it happen in real time. It almost felt like I was like watching SportsCenter, like a highlight, like a top 10. Yeah. Like I saw the play happen and I was like, damn, that's crazy. That was a nice touchdown.
Yeah.
Shit, we just lost the game.
Yeah.
I thought the call for a second was going to get overturned when they reviewed the fumble.
Yeah.
And then, when they didn't overturn it, I was like, hey, man, we just got to stop them. And
I do think it's a little bit weird. I really am not trying to pin everything on the referees, but like when you consider Colby Young and like his overturned touchdown, and then you consider Don Chaney's play at the end of the game when they decided to call that a fumble, we got the wrong side of both of those that got overturned, despite the replay not really clearly showing an overturned evidence. On that Colby Young touchdown, his knee looked like it hit the ground. It looked close. I think it did. But, they say incontrovertible. It has to be completely obvious. I don't think it was completely obvious enough to overturn it, although it did look like his knee might have touched the ground. That's on his touchdown. And then on Chaney's, they end up ruling it a fumble when I thought it looked very clear and evident that he was down.
Yeah.
So we got the short end of the stick on that specific kind of call in 2 different ways.
Yeah. Well, I think before that ending, the fumble and then everything, I think it was going to be an opportunity for Mario to really grill the players on lack of preparedness and focus coming out of the bye week. Mike, I know we were texting about this a little bit during the game, and it's bizarre to me that we can have a total change of coaching staff, we can have total overturn of players, and yet the uniforms thing and the bye week thing still hangs over our heads. Don't know what that's all about. Maybe.
Yeah, I told you on text. I don't put much weight into that because that's just us fans putting reasoning behind things that are happening.
Yeah.
That we don't like.
Everybody wants to put some kind of like negative mojo jojo or like some negative voodoo magic on the jerseys. You know what it is? You ever heard the expression, when you hear hoofbeats, you think horses, you don't think zebras?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're wearing the black uniforms, it's not like some voodoo magic that's making us lose. What really it is that these opponents get geared up like, oh, you're going to fucking wear black against us like you're going to a funeral? Fuck that shit. We're going to put it right to you. And guess what? They do it because the Canes put on these black jerseys and they think that all of a sudden it's going to be, the late 80s, early 90s out here, but they're wearing black. Guess what? These other teams see that shit. They don't think it's cute.
Well, so I think that's a very fair point, and I think it's entirely possible. What I was more gravitating myself, I think your point's great, but what I was thinking was more internal, in the sense of like maybe we're just not there on the whole mental toughness thing. Like our teams for the last 2 decades have been notorious for being. I can never get the expression right, but like all pop, no sizzle, or whatever. And is it just more of the same? Is it just we're all about the flash and the Manny Diaz wrestling camp things or whatever, and it's but when it comes time to when it comes time to like test your metal, we always fall short. I think
A
we
better
get a
one
little
for
too
you.
high on our own supply.
A better
You
one for
know-
you, Jordan. Style over substance.
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
That's facts. The
Thank you.
big thing that pissed me off during the game, man, are those consistent runs up the middle that weren't working, but that's the only way we ran the ball. We didn't counter, we didn't toss sweep, we didn't toss the ball, we didn't we didn't do anything creative in the backfield, man. All we did was run, straight up the middle.
Shit.
Same
Yeah,
as
like let's get a sweep or a pitch, or let's get
Oh.
the running back kind of cutting toward the outside a little bit.
it costed us
I-
so much in that game, man.
It really does make you wonder if they're getting coached on that kind of thing. Cheney's a big body guy, and he's gonna bang up the middle, and that's totally valid. I understand that. Not Rooster, correct myself. Parrish is a little bit more of a finesse guy, a little bit more jukes and shiftiness, right? Why is he not trying to cut outside? Why is he burying it up the middle every single time? Is he getting coached on that? Because last I checked, we want to get our athletic guys out in space and see what happens.
Thank you. I was tweeting about that the whole night. I was so pissed at it, man. Because we wasted
like I said,
we wasted
Yeah.
so many opportunities, man. There was a second and 17, and we ran the ball for 3 yards. And then Tyler forced that pass to the end zone that got picked because I think it was 3rd and goal, I think the first down was on the 2 or the 1 or something like that. And that's where he threw the pick, and everybody was freaking out. And I was like, man, you keep running these simple ass plays, they're not going to really care too much about the run. They're just going to stack the box with a few people, and they're still going to keep people back. And then you're forcing Tyler to throw the ball to try to get a first down or a score there, and he's gonna force something. And we missed a scoring opportunity there. So it's just like, damn, bro, like we're not creative. It felt like just a couple years ago, man, where we just flat. Or last year, we were just flat coming out, and it was just like the whole game just consistently stayed flat. And then Tyler throws the bomb, and we're like, okay, well, we got some life here because the defense is keeping the game close, and we're playing a horrible offense.
Yeah.
But dog, I mean, those running plays were horrid, and I mean, we had 100 plus on the ground because we ran 30 of them. That's the only
real issue with that kind of game is that Georgia Tech, the more that the game goes on, the more confident and comfortable that they're feeling, and the more that their coaches are playing into it, and the more that their players are getting inflated heads. As it gets to the end of the first quarter and it's a very close game, they're like, hey, this is going the way we kind of were hoping it would go. Then it's very close at halftime, and they're saying, hey, we're playing a little bit better than we thought we would be playing. It's still pretty close right now. They get to the end of the third quarter and it's still a ball game. They're losing their minds because they're not supposed to be in this. They're supposed to lose the game. Hurricanes were favored by 19 points, and it's very, very close, even getting to the fourth quarter. So their coaches and their players are thinking, we got this. We can do it. All you have to do is keep it close, and then you have an opportunity to get in a striking distance. And what did they do? Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I think I kind of veered off and never made my point in terms of, talking about the dynamic with Mario being able to, get mad at the guys for lacking discipline and then costing the game himself. I don't know if it was him or Shannon Dawson, but one of them should have been adult enough to figure that out. What do you think the dynamic will be this week when they're looking at film? If you're a player in there, and coach is trying to grill you for lacking focus, even though at the end of the day you did your job and got the win, and then they ripped it right out of your hands from you. Think there's any potential there for some discord, or how do you think that dynamic's going to play out this week?
Mike?
Man, I'm just gonna jump to the fact that I watched the North Carolina game today, and I'm going to that game. There's a reason I picked that. I don't get to go to too many games a year. I picked that game because we were supposed to be undefeated going to that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Watching North Carolina today, I text Adrian earlier today. I don't know if it was in the group chat or not, but I texted him and I said, "Man, listen, they're on a whole nother momentum swing right now. They had a couple lackadaisical games and they crushed Syracuse, and Syracuse is not a bad team, but they
got their boy Tez back.
Facts.
And he's like what's the expression? A martyr. You know what I mean? Like they got something that they can have somebody not fall on the sword. You know what I'm trying to say? They got somebody that can rally around him.
Yeah.
And he's fresh too, you know, and he's a threat. You know, now we're sitting with one loss, man. I was just looking at the standings. We got, you know, 4 teams that are undefeated in conference play right now. Everybody else has an L. And we play 3 of them. You know, Duke is the exception.
Yeah.
But we play 3 of them. And those 3 have multiple wins already in conference, including North Carolina, Florida State, Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville beat Notre Dame tonight.
Oh, they beat them good, didn't they?
They did.
You have the final score? Do you know that one? I'm looking at the USC and Arizona game on the side.
It's like 33 to something. 33 to
33 to like 17 or 20 or so.
Yeah. So we got our work cut out for us, man. This Georgia Tech loss, right? Excuse me, because I got my kid in here. This Georgia Tech loss is gonna kill that momentum, man. If we don't sweep those games, now we got to sweep those games.
And I let out a lot worse yell than that right when I saw that motherfucking touchdown.
Man.
I saw that fucking.
Yeah, Junior. I went off, man. He knows how I am. But I listen, man. I don't know what to expect next weekend. I'm definitely nervous about that matchup. You know, I'm not going into that matchup thinking we're winning that game like I was leaning towards. You know, if we beat Georgia Tech handily, I feel like we have momentum. They were showing the stats on the screen before we didn't kneel the ball and we were going to seal the win. The percentages of the wins or the wins versus you know, the possibilities or whatnot. And, you know, they had us favored in that game. And I was thinking, it's an NC. It might be a night game, whatever. I don't know what this week's going to be, man. But I'm telling you what, something has to change. We got to be more creative because North Carolina's going to come out swinging, bro. And I'm telling you, that game right there can crush the season because we can get crushed by North Carolina if we don't come in right.
Well, now, I will say I did say that before the season too. I said if we want to beat North Carolina, we're going to have to score some points. We're going to need to score some points if we want to beat North Carolina.
Yeah. So I could end up looking like an absolute fool for this, and that's fine if I do. I'm not above that. I think that this is a good rallying point for the team. You know, for Mario to eat his big old slice of humble pie. Hopefully he is not above that himself. And hopefully, you know, the players can understand what their lack of focus did to this game, you know, coming out of a bye week. And I think we're going to beat North Carolina next week. I do. I think we're a really good team. I didn't see anything tonight to make me think that we weren't a good team. I think it was a flat performance. And maybe I'm wrong on that. I always call it like I see it. You know, even when we're playing scrubs, if I'm like, yeah, we're beating scrubs right now, but I just don't think our run defense is that good, I'm happy to say that. I think we're a good team. I think we're going to give UNC a very good showing. I'm going to give a little bit of a homer take and say that we're going to beat them. And I still think that like 9-3, 10-2 is on the table this year.
I will say I'm glad that you went kind of like back into that direction, because to answer your original question about like, did you see anything from tonight? It's really, really difficult to take very much good away from what we saw tonight. The best thing that I took away from tonight is the fact that you can only really call out like individual highlights. I can't really say a specific unit really took over the game. Offense was sloppy. It was rainy.
Yeah.
And the defense did well, but guess what? It was fucking raining. So
Yeah.
their offense isn't going to look great either, no matter how good or how bad they are. If you're playing in the rain, guess what? Your offense is going to take a little bit of a dive.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really difficult to take a lot away from that. The only thing I can really say is that Kinchins looked like he hasn't missed a beat. His preparation is so evident. I mean, I'm not going to say he's the hardest like weight room worker in the building, but his film study, I mean, he's got to have more hours than anybody. I mean, the kid is always around the ball. We got to come up with like almost like a nickname for him. He's like a play magnet. He is always, perpetually around the fucking football.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if he has to come across field and do magic, I agree with that.
They throw to the opposite side, and at the end of the play, when that receiver stands up, guess who's right there on top of him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Kinchins,
Yeah,
right there,
so
every single time.
I agree with you. I agree with you on there's not much good to take away from the game. Jordan, I'll back you up and say that no, we don't have a bad team. But we can bring this back up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
About that team thing. You know,
I thought our run defense was solid today. You know, I mean, with the conditions, you know, I think, you know, it was expected that they were going to run the ball a lot. They did. I thought we held them to, I think, under 100 yards. Let me double check that. I have the box score right here. 99 rushing yards for them on 3.5 yards per carry. So,
Jesus, 3.5 yards sucks.
Yeah, so run defense is pretty good. I mean, our run game on offense was the same.
But yo, damn, we ran. Wait.
No, Parrish and Chaney look good. Parrish and Chaney both had a couple of very, very good runs, and within their own kind of like attributes as well. Chaney's long of the day was 12, and Parrish's long run of the day was also 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But Parrish had a nice, good couple juke run. And Chaney, man, if he's not good for 4 to 6 yards every time he touches the ball, then I don't know anything.
Yeah, we ran the ball 46 times for subpar 200 yards.
46 times. I mean, who runs the ball 46 times in the modern game of football? That's what I'm saying. This, you know, I'm really struggling to reconcile, you know, the rainy game aspect of it, because who in the flying fuck runs the ball almost 50 times?
Georgia Tech in the triple option used to.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. You're talking about the triple option, man.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. As weird as it is to say this after a loss, I'm just not really sweating it. I'm really not.
Yeah. I think I think we're bottom of the rankings going into North Carolina.
Yeah.
I think this changes. You know, we were slotted for 12 o'clock. I think they used 2 times for that game on Saturday. They should announce it tomorrow, but they were talking about 12 o'clock or the 7:30 one. I think that slates us for
Yeah.
or the 3:30, whichever slots the daytime one. I think we're gonna get slotted for that now.
Yeah.
It changes the whole momentum of the season, man. Going into the meat of the schedule, that if we would have cleared Georgia Tech, would have held a lot more of that momentum going into the next month and November and stuff, and thinking possibly, hey man, we can creep into the top 10 and stay in here and get to Florida State.
Yeah.
Beat them.
Yeah.
We're working with something. But now it goes back to where we've been the last 10 seasons plus. We're like every week we're kind of just guessing like what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you guys know what I'm talking about. The first 4 weeks of the season, we came into Georgia Tech tonight thinking we was gonna whoop some ass.
Yeah.
Every game for the rest of the season. I hope somebody's watching this shit that's not just us in here. Every game for the rest of the season, we're gonna be wondering.
Yeah.
The lines don't matter. It don't matter what we did the last week. It's just gonna be a fresh start every week. And you know, that's cool and all, but it just sucks as a Miami fan because we've been doing it so long, bro.
You know what? And I will say that the players and the coaches would echo that sentiment, but a lot of times, you might even feel that's a little bit like lip service when they say, oh, we're just trying to go 1-0 this week. Oh, last week is last week. This week is this week, yada, yada, yada. Bullshit, right? Like you think that that's just lip service. But maybe hopefully they can, turn this into a learning experience and say, well, when the media asks us, what do you think about looking ahead 2-3 weeks? And we say, oh, well, we're just focused on our opponent this week. Maybe you'll actually mean that shit and focus on the fucking game. How's that sound?
Yeah. So I want to wrap up with I'm not going to call this a hot take question because hot takes can be misconstrued as being like a binding opinion. We're going to call this a temperature check question. Okay. This is nothing more than a snapshot in time of how you're feeling right now. Non-binding. All right. So 4 games left on the schedule against high-level opponents if we're talking blue bloods or ranked teams right now. We got North Carolina on the road next week. We have Clemson at home the week after. We have FSU in November on the road, and then we have Louisville at home the week after, okay? So UNC, Clemson, FSU, Louisville, 2 at home, 2 on the road. What's our record in those 4 games?
Mike?
You asking me with my feelings tonight and not giving me a few days to rest this out?
Yeah, it's a temperature check question.
He said, snapshot in time. You will not be
I hate
contractually obligated to this
Yes,
opinion.
this is a non-binding. This is a temperature check, not
Let's
a hot
see,
take.
It's 12:30. Mike, I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow around the Dolphins kickoff at 1:00, and we're gonna see if you're feeling any different. Okay.
So
This is non-binding.
my boy Rob, and you guys know Rob, and he's coming up to Chapel Hill.
Love Rob.
And we're staying together, going to the game and all that stuff. And he's gonna hate me for this because he's the one traveling further. I'm driving there. I think we take an L at UNC.
Okay.
I think we beat Clemson by a small margin, just with quarterback play. I don't see us beating FSU based on my emotions right now, and Louisville looks nice.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that one open. Hopefully, we get the win there. But right now, I can't say that.
We going 1-3 or 2-2?
I'd say 1-3 right now.
Okay. Petrie.
Yeah. 4-0. Hold me to it.
Oh. I love
it. I think that, like, man, they saw the way that we lost to Georgia Tech tonight. And I think that it's very easy to hang your head and make excuses talking about the referees and the rain and the yada, yada, yada. You can talk about all this if you want. And I did tweet it right before the show went live. These 2 things can be true. Number 1, you can say that the refs really, really had an impact on that game tonight, and it could have very, very, very well made a tremendous impact on why we lost that game. You can also say we should have won that motherfucker anyway. So we still should have won that game. Carolina, they're good. They're very good on offense. Don't make any kind of mistake about it. But Jordan, you said it yourself earlier. App State took them to the wire, and App State's taken them to the wire a couple years in a row now. Okay, and App State's a good football team, but Miami's better. So that's the end. That's it. So we will be there with Carolina, and I think that they're going to try to prove it. Right.
Yep.
One thing turns into another. After you take that win at Carolina, you come back home, get your bearings together. You beat Clemson. Send the message that it is no longer Clemson's conference. I think they can do it. They can beat Clemson. They will at least be competitive. Now, Clemson's talent, you can never count them out of the game. But Miami, we've recruited very well and done well in the transfer portal as well. So I think that right there you could do that. All of a sudden, you're sitting there and going, hey, here comes the Florida State win a little bit after that. Momentum, rivalry game, throw out the records, throw out all your projections. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, all right? And then Louisville, man, fuck Louisville. You know what I'm saying? Jaron Williams bombed them for 6 touchdowns, and he was stoned, all right?
I love it.
Jaron Williams was higher than a fucking kite, and he threw 6 touchdowns on those boys. I hope to God Tyler Van Dyke can beat Louisville. Come on, man.
Oh, by the way, so me and Jordan will be down for the Louisville game.
Yeah, we'll both be there.
So
Ooh, let's talk. Yeah.
yeah, so here's what I wanted to add before we wrap this thing up. The headline on ESPN right now. Miami opts not to kneel, falls to Georgia Tech on late score.
Dude, they
Man,
should
kiss my ass, ESPN. Fuck ESPN.
Dude, they honestly, what we deserve is they should put Miami kneels to Georgia Tech, lose at last second. Just rub the salt all over that.
Yeah.
I hate it, man. But like we lost. The loss counts. I'm not saying this is a win or whatever, but we lost on a technicality. We lost on a brain fart. Like it's to me, this is so much better than losing because we lost. We didn't lose because we got outplayed for 4 quarters. We lost on a stupid technicality, a brain fart, a dumb coaching decision that hopefully Mario never makes again.
Well, and right there, Jordan, is and that's to your point. Like, you can't really feel tremendously discouraged from the loss walking away from this one because there were 3 absolutely, infinitesimal kind of plays that happened, right? What are the odds they mismanage the clock and don't kneel out again? That's one. What are the odds that the fumble by Chaney doesn't get overturned? Or excuse me, what are the odds that it does get overturned in another situation? Not likely again. And then third, what are the odds that they bomb you on a long pass when you know that they have to throw the ball? These things are not all 3 of those things individually are tremendously unlikely.
Yeah.
The odds of them happening sequentially are even lesser, right? Yeah. So if you sit there and go, well, I don't want to make excuses, but 3 freak occurrences in a row, come on, let's get real.
Yeah. So anyways, I didn't answer the 4 games. I can't decide between 2-2 or 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1. So
yeah, man.
We're not losing to Clemson. We're not losing to Clemson this year.
Got to be Clemson, man.
Yeah. So
can I just shout out a couple NFL players of a game that we're like, ugly game. I don't really know who you could really say got the game ball. Even if we had won that game, I don't know who would get the game ball. But man, Francisco Mauigoa, the linebacker, crazy dude. He was very, very physical force, very much a physical force on the field today. I know it was a rainy game. I know it was sloppy. I know they ran the ball a lot and they were keeping stuff short, which does play to the advantage of the front 7. But Mauigoa was there, man.
Yeah, and that roughing the passer on him was garbage. What a garbage penalty. Yeah.
You know what? I got.
Let me see how many. The quarterback throwing the ball whenever he fell on him, bro. Yep. He didn't even know what was going on, man.
Yep.
You almost like can't even really talk about the penalties. We only had 6, but every single one was a backbreaker, right? So anyway, Bain again, Ruben Bain Jr. Jesus Christ, does this kid look like an NFL player or what? Or fucking what? God damn. And Colby Young, very, very talented guy. Love his game. Jacoby George, he's got good footwork and stuff. I really like him, doing what he's doing as a receiver. But Colby Young has looked like an NFL player this whole entire season.
I love Colby Young.
Restrepo had 12 catches tonight, man. He balled out.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't want to open up that. I know we're probably trying to wrap up here, but man, Tyler Van Dyke was looking at this guy, man. He was gawking at Restrepo. I was like, bro, would you please look at any fucking other person on the field? Please, would you please look at anybody else?
Yeah. Has to make you think something must have made him really uncomfortable tonight, because we know that Restrepo's his safety valve. He throws to Restrepo a lot, but like you said, looking at him every play all night, the 3 just ill-advised interceptions, which he does not do. He was 11 touchdowns, 1 pick coming into tonight on the season.
So he had a relatively early pick, and then there was a relatively early one that was also dropped, but that one was free fucking money. That was free money. That one that the second one that was dropped by Tyler Van Dyke. You don't think that secondaries coach is saying like, hey, play it to the side of Restrepo. He's leaning towards him. So force the action, and then guess what happens? bingo, bango, 2 more interceptions right at,
Yeah.
thereafter throughout the game.
Yeah.
Hello.
So,
They know he's looking at Restrepo.
yeah. I don't know. That's something we should keep our eyes on. If we're noticing it, I'm sure North Carolina's defensive coordinator's noticing it. So
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap up. Love chatting with you guys, but I also want to hang out with my wife a little bit today. So it's only 10:30 over here. Happy Friday to everyone. It's a Saturday. Oh man, I hate football sometimes. Okay, you guys got anything else? Or are we good to go?
Let me see here. Let me just check my notes. Oh, I always have to shout out Borogalis. I have to shout out Andres Borogalis. I know it's not a crazy line, 2 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 2 on PATs, but in a rainy, muddy, sloppy game, kicks are not the easiest thing in the world to make. So 2 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 2 on PATs. Shout out Andres Borogalis.
Love it. Mike, any last thoughts?
Bro, go Canes, man. Hopefully we have a better weekend next weekend, bro. I'll be there. I'm still pumped for the game, but man, that took a dagger. That was a dagger tonight, man. That should have never happened.
Yep.
I can't wait to hear what Mario has to say about it.
Yeah.
So
I hope he's wearing a dunce cap in the post-game interview.
Just to wrap it up, man, just a devastating loss, bro. Devastating, but it's go Canes for life. So I'm still here.
And fuck Drake May.
Yeah, and Mac Brown at that. I hate
fuck
Mac
Drake May. Fuck Mac Brown. Fuck Roy Williams. Fuck the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Not Roy
fuck
Williams,
Michael
bro.
Jordan. I don't want to hear that shit. Fuck the North Carolina baby blue ass Tar Heels, man. One of my good buddies from college, his name's Wesley. He's a big Carolina fan, and we go back and forth on Twitter. So maybe he'll get to see some of this. But if he does get to see some of this, I hope he gets to hear me say, fuck the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Love it. All right. As always, guys, we're sponsored by About the Fans. Make sure you guys check out. Me and Mike got the gear.
Yes,
Petrie,
sir.
I hope your package did your package arrive or not yet?
Yes, no, it is here. I got everything. Everything is perfect. I got it into the laundry, and then we were wearing the black jerseys today.
Yeah. I got you, man. All good. Love it. Okay, everyone. We will see you next week after North Carolina. Go Canes.
Go Canes. Love y'all.
Later, y'all.